You're listening to TALRadio, the information and entertainment arm of the Touch a Life Foundation. On TALRadio, the Touch a Life Foundation shares stories of kindness and information on how we can connect those people around the world who might be in need of assistance with parties who are generous enough to offer it. Today on the Robert Hicks Show, we have Keren Taylor. Keren is the founder and executive director of WriteGirl. WriteGirl, that's spelled W-R-I-T-E. WriteGirl is a Los Angeles-based creative writing and mentoring organization that spotlights the power of a girl and her pen. At WriteGirl, they match girls with women writers who mentor them in creative writing. So, Keren, thanks so much for coming on to TALRadio to tell your story.
Of course, happy to be here.
Yes. So if you don't mind, can you tell me, how long has your organization, WriteGirl, been around?
We are in our 22nd year now, so it's been a while. It's been quite a journey. So 22 years of
fast.
Yeah, it's gone by quickly, and we're still growing. So it feels like we've still got quite a journey ahead of us as well. We work with girls as well as gender-expansive writers. I do want to mention that we have some trans youth and some non-binary writers amongst our volunteers as well as our teen participants. And we love creating an inclusive environment where all teens feel welcome and supported.
That's really cool. So what was the cause that led to the creation of WriteGirl?
Yeah,
you woke up one day and said, I'm going to do this thing.
It's true. You know, there's a few things. How much time have you got? There's a few things that kind of contributed to it. I think more than anything, I wanted to create a community that I wanted to belong to. I think I was missing the community of women writers. I was missing a creative, supportive, positive community. And I could see that teen girls, 22 years ago, their needs were different, but very similar in terms of feeling isolated, feeling alone, feeling like their voice didn't matter, hating writing. Teens generally don't love to write. It's not something that comes naturally or that they feel really drawn to. So we have quite an uphill battle sometimes convincing teens to participate when they think of writing as something they do at school, the essays and the deadlines and the, exams and stuff like that. So to create a more fun, free atmosphere of self-exploration and self-expression is really quite different. It's a different kind of way of approaching writing. So I think when I started WriteGirl, that all of that was part of my impetus, but it was also just a few months after 9/11. And when I look back, that wasn't a coincidence. I really wanted to do something of meaning, something that was giving back to the community, something that wasn't just helping a corporation with their profit margin,
Yeah, I'll tell you, this kind of hits a sort of a special place in my heart for a couple of reasons. One, when I was young and in elementary school, no student was more mortified than me to write something and read it in front of the class.
Wow.
So, I was just, oh my gosh, I prayed, don't call on me. And the other thing is, today, I fashion myself a bit of a writer. I had a pretty strict language arts background in my elementary school, so benefited from it a lot. But I totally appreciate what you're saying you're doing and all that. So what's your personal background that led you to this as an idea?
Yeah, I was a singer-songwriter in New York City for many years, and that's something I did for a long time. And I also was involved in some freelance writing and some public relations. And at one time, I was really interested in the Foreign Service, and I studied political science. And in some ways, they all sound very different, but in many ways, a lot of it is there's a through line, I think. And I find myself using everything I ever studied and everything I ever did in my work with WriteGirl. It's about building community. It's about communication. It's about, lifting each other up and fostering others to really deeply dive into their own creative ideas. And I think for me, there's really nothing more joyous than helping people get to a place where they feel like they have something to say and that other people will listen. And then they feel more confident about who they are and how their stories fit together, in their own life.
That's really neat. And no, I totally can relate to that. But also when you talk about your diverse background, that's just so broadening rather than being like single channeled.
Yeah.
Your perspective is so much more well-rounded. That's really good. So basically, tell us a bit about who is helped by WriteGirl. I mean, generically, it's teenage girls, right? But
right.
Tell us, like, where the people that typically are within your organization, where they come from, and how they're helped, that kind of thing.
Yeah, one of the moments that really sparked me to start WriteGirl back in 2001, I was driving in Los Feliz and drove past a school getting out, and it was John Marshall High School that has over 4,000 students. And I was driving by and I saw all these kids pouring out of the school, and I did a little research, and there was just, I forget the number, but a very few amount of counselors, really no creative writing, or very little in the way of after school programming, virtually no mentoring programs. And it was sort of like, how the heck does a teen get the individualized support that they need to get through high school safely, in a healthy way, thriving, and then go on to higher education? So it was kind of a lightning moment for me, going, okay, we can help this. I have got this network of women writers that love writing, that would love to impart their skills. And if we can bring them together to help these young women here, we could really do something. So those roots of trying to find teens that are not, that don't have the opportunities that they need is still at the core of our recruitment efforts for teens. So we try to find teens that are at high density schools. We try to look for teens that don't have access to after school resources that would really benefit from a one-on-one mentor, teens who really, are struggling with their sense of self, their self-esteem, their sense of what their future might look like. And, some of our teens come to us now from referrals from counselors, therapists, parents, other organizations. So luckily, we've developed a strong reputation here, especially in the Los Angeles area, and managed to really have people help us bring teens over here that would really benefit from this,
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. So just in curiosity, and I don't want this to sound like in any way skeptical. I just wanted to understand, though, is there anything that's unique about young ladies, or like you say, the broader definition, but girls, anything that's unique about that versus young men? I mean, do you find them less likely to speak out or anything like that? I'm just curious.
Oh, yes, there's so much. I mean, when we talk to teens at schools, we always sort of remind them who is the mayor of Los Angeles. Okay, it's a woman now, but for 22 years of WriteGirl's existence, it has always been a man. So we're making some progress, but this is our first female mayor of Los Angeles. Who's the governor of the state? It continues to be male. Who's the president of the United States? It continues to be a male. So the opportunities for women are still not, the equity is not here for women. And, that sort of sets the stage to tell you about the lack of opportunity. But underneath that is the message that goes out to women saying, you can't be in the top places of power. You are not permitted. You will not make it. You are not welcome there. So teens, especially at that, very vulnerable age where they're really looking at who they are and discovering their own identity and who they want to be in the world, they really take that to heart, and it becomes part of their DNA if we're not careful, if we don't come in and say, wait a second, you do have the opportunity to go all the way to the top in any field you want. You just need to be able to speak up for yourself, bring your ideas forward, and not sit in the back and let the dominating male energy in the room take over where you aren't speaking up, and it is changing slowly, but I think even in school, it's difficult for teen girls sometimes to have their voice heard. There's a pervasive attitude that teens, especially teen girls, are kind of in development, don't really know anything yet. So let's just, sort of brush them aside until they're older and know some things. And that kind of dismissive attitude towards teen girls in particular is something that I feel like we are always trying to combat at WriteGirl. And it isn't spoken about. Like, as I'm talking about it now, I'm sort of feel alone in the world a little bit, that, there's a lot of talk about, feminism and women's equality, but there's not very much of a focus on teen girls, which is where we have to focus, because that's the developmental period where they're going to be able to get a significant change in their approach and their confidence and their ability to become leaders, and then we will see the change in once they graduate from high school, graduate from college, and go on into their career. If we equip them in their teenage years, they're going to be so much better off. And, we're starting to see it. We're so proud of Amanda Gorman, one of our alums who, got to the inauguration, read her own poem there in front of an international audience, and wowed the entire world with the conviction of her confidence, her words, her ability to kind of, capture the moment and give us all a moment of connection,
Yeah. I can tell you, as the father of 3 daughters, I can relate to a number of things that you're saying. And certainly there are obviously differences between boys and girls, and also there can be significant differences at different parts of their lives. Mm-hmm. And so what I think you're hitting on is that it's an especially challenging time for girls. With some of the things that they're experiencing. And it's neat to see your organization. Now, WriteGirl is based in Los Angeles, California, here in the U.S., right?
Yes, we are. We're based here. We started here, but we're growing. Mm-hmm. We've now been working with teens all around the country and all around the world. We have an ongoing program in Uganda with some young women there. We've been working with some teens in Tajikistan and Afghanistan. And we're really expanding. It's not really rapid expansion because we want it to be sustainable. So we're kind of taking small steps to expand instead of, sort of bursting out all over. But we're really excited to be able to bring, what we've developed here to teens in other places where they may have even less opportunities than we have here in America.
So how many people work for your organization at this time?
There's only 4 of us that are full-time, but we have about 10 people that are part-time with us. Some are teaching artists that teach out in the community on a part-time basis. Some help us with events and research. So it's a very small team, but we really get we accomplish what we do with the strength of our volunteers. We have 400 volunteers that work with us, and they really are the backbone and the engine, we call them, of WriteGirl. They're mentoring teens. They're helping at events. They're helping lead workshops. They're helping behind the scenes with all kinds of things. And we're really grateful to all of the volunteers that work with us and help support what we're doing.
Yeah, so I was reading some of this on your website, and I saw on there it said 200 volunteer women. So you're growing pretty quickly with your volunteers.
Yes, I think we have to update that. Yeah.
So how many girls are being impacted by this? I mean, how many girls are you working with in the
whole program, including teens we're working with abroad? It's 700 right now. So, it's large, but it's also a relatively small number because of the one-on-one aspect and the sort of intimacy that is really important. 115 of those teens are matched with their very own weekly mentor. And then there's another 40 or 50 that work part-time with a mentor. They either don't have time to have a mentor full-time, or they just have a project they need help with, or any number of things. So we have sort of project mentoring, short-term mentoring, as well as the long-term one-on-one weekly mentoring. So, that's where we see the real growth happen. You can do group events, and we do a lot of those too. And those are so valuable. And there's sometimes everywhere from 5 teens to 200 teens in a room or on Zoom. But the those are sort of community events. The one-on-one mentoring is really where teens get a chance to really dive deeply into their own personal storytelling and skill development and confidence building, and have a sense of their self-worth really being validated by another individual who's not paid to be there and who is not their family member and who is not judging them, but just there to support them. So it's kind of a magical combination of the one-on-one and the group events, Yeah.
And by the way, the reason I was reacting by the numbers is, like I say, I was on your website, and the numbers have grown so substantially, probably very recently. I mean, you're obviously on a trajectory of major growth, and that's really cool. By the way, I want to remind our listeners, we do have a global audience here at TALRadio, but I'm Robert Hicks on the Robert Hicks Show here on TALRadio, and we're talking with Keren Taylor, the founder and executive director of WriteGirl, a Los Angeles-based creative writing and mentoring organization. Very interesting to learn all of what you're doing. By the way, I also like to remind our listeners that TALRadio is from Touch a Life Foundation. It's a registered 501c3 nonprofit organization, and basically it's founded on the principle that helping others is good for society, and we leverage technology to basically connect people in need of some kind with people that might be generous enough to give. And so we want to ask our listeners out there to please download the TAL Giving, TAL, the word giving, which is an app for your phone. It's a platform to help organizations like WriteGirl and so many others. You basically go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. You can register yourself as either a donor or even your organization as someone that is in need. And we're all about connecting the two at Touch a Life Foundation and TALRadio. So, Keren, who do you target for participation in your organization? You were just talking about 700 people, like volunteers and what have you. What do you look for? What kind of people should consider reaching out to you to get involved?
So we have really two avenues for people to become volunteers with us. One is to apply to be a mentor. And for that, we're really looking for writers with strong communication and creative skills. So they don't have to be published, they don't have to be famous or anything like that, but it's really important that they have really strong communication skills and that they have some experience with creative writing so that they can really be an effective mentor to help a teen. It's also helpful if they have a little bit of an openness towards different writing genres, because part of our program is taking teens through a whole journey of learning poetry, screenwriting, songwriting, journalism, fiction, creative nonfiction. So by the time a teen is through 1 year of WriteGirl, they've gotten exposed to all of those different writing genres, giving them a broader sense of what is out there and a sense of, oh my gosh, there's all these other avenues for careers in writing. It doesn't just have to be one of these, So it's helpful when writers come to us that they sort of see themselves as being a writer that could learn other genres, even if they're only really strong in one. And then we have another avenue. We have support volunteers who are not really predominantly writers, but they want to help as well. And for those people, we don't require that they have creative writing skills. We still look for a strong communication because that's just helpful for all of what we do. But they help with things like research, like our events, helping with communications. And we're really grateful for all of their support too, because boy, this all takes a lot of coordination and a lot of communication. It's a lot of heavy emails and phone calls and texting. And, it takes a lot to keep volunteers and teens engaged, especially now that so many of our programs are online.
Mm-hmm. Now, your organization is in Los Angeles and a standalone organization, right? But you now virtually can work with people beyond just the LA scope, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Are you part of any other larger organization, or are you aware of any other organizations like yours that are doing anything similar, or perhaps you're not? I just thought I would ask.
Sort of yes and no. We are a part of an organization here in Los Angeles called the Arts for Healing and Justice Network, and we're really glad to be a member of that network, where we do a lot of work with systems impacted youth who are incarcerated, youth who are in critical need of services and support. So that organization has a lot of arts organizations within Los Angeles, not necessarily ones like WriteGirl, but it's similar in terms of the mission of bringing arts education to youth. So the Armory is part of that group, which is an arts-based organization. Unusual Suspects, which is a wonderful theater organization. The Actors Gang, Rhythm Arts Alliance. So it's music, it's art, it's dance, and writing. And we've all come together to kind of be a one-stop shopping place for the county and the city to be able to find organizations that can come and assist, especially where there is a really great need for supplementary education for youth. So that's one organization we're part of, and we're looking at joining some global girls organizations, which we've only recently really been looking at because, up until fairly recently, we were really focused on the LA area exclusively, but we now have teens, joining us from many other places. And with our international programs, we're looking forward to really diving more deeply into what it would look like to be part of the global girls education movement. Okay.
And let's talk a little bit about where you can be found, because I know your website is www.writegirl.org, and that is spelled WRITEGIRL.org. That's your website, where you have such a host of information. So we certainly want to encourage our listeners to go check out your website. You'll get all kinds of information, including where they're located, the phone number, where you can access them, and the hours that WriteGirl is open. Wanted to talk a little bit about some of your accomplishments, but I got to tell you, I always ask this when I'm interviewing someone, and sometimes it's hard to specify, but when I'm looking at your website, there's no shortage of achievements that you folks have had. And I think probably most importantly, like it says on the webpage, that since 2001, 100% of your graduating seniors have entered college, and many on full or partial scholarships. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. That's
okay. And that's certainly obviously a big accomplishment.
It's really a hard number to keep every year, I have to say, but we work really hard at it. That is really early in our development. A teen said to us, we were on a college tour, and we said, "How did you like the college? Do you think you'd like to go here?" And the teen said, "Well, I'd like to, but my counselor told me I'm not college material." And it was that moment that really made us realize how important it is that every teen girl has the opportunity to see herself going to college. So we've made it our mission to make sure that that's a pathway that's available to them. So it's not easy, but we're really happy to keep that statistic going every year.
I saw where you were honored by First Lady Michelle Obama with the National Arts and Humanities Youth Program Award.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier that one of your alumni, Amanda Gorman, was chosen as the inaugural poet for the 59th inaugural ceremonies.
Yes.
That had to be a thrill.
Yes, very exciting to hear.
When Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were sworn in, and even featured on the Kelly Clarkson show, right?
Yes.
In late 2022.
Yes, that was just a few months ago. Yeah, that was really exciting. She's a wonderful spokesperson and powerfully positive human being. So it was really wonderful to be on her show and bring one of our alums to share a little bit about her experiences in WriteGirl.
Yeah, but again, we encourage our listeners, go to the website of writegirl.org and check out the list of accomplishments. It goes on and on and on, and it's very impressive. I like it. It's So Keren, what are some of the ways that our listeners can help out WriteGirl? What can they do for you?
Obviously, the volunteering is an option if anybody is interested in becoming a mentor. We also have our books available on our website, and those are anthologies written by teen girls. They also include writing activities in them. So they make for really great gifts, and they represent the voices of hundreds of girls. And the writing is so powerful. They write about their families, their home, their communities, their teenage lives, their cell phones. They're funny, they're poignant, they're profound. Amanda Gorman is featured in several of our anthologies, and that's a nice way to be able to support our work, buy our books and get those creative books out into the hands of other teens and support WriteGirl at the same time. We also encourage donations. Of course, we're a nonprofit, and that's always so valuable to us. So if anyone would like to make a financial donation, we're immensely grateful. It's also tax deductible, and that's a wonderful way to be able to help support the work we're doing.
And at TALRadio, we're all about helping you get that kind of help steered your way. And so you take the donations, you can do it online. If they just go to your webpage and click the donate button, you can do it over the phone by calling 213-253-2655. And you'll also, you have on your webpage a mailing address that you can make checks payable to the to Community Partners FBO WriteGirl. So that information there is all available right there on the website. By the way, it mentioned on the website, it said we also accept in-kind donations. What does that mean?
Yes.
Heard the term before, but
right now, the thing that we always need more of is journals for our teens. We are lucky enough to have some companies that donate journals to us. We must go through above 500 a year because we want every teen to have their own journal to write in. And we encourage them to come back and let us know when they need another one, and they fill them up. But it's really very important because it becomes this receptacle for their thoughts and our ideas. We love them to be beautiful and, give them that sense of a place to be a container for their thoughts and ideas and emotions. So we welcome donations of journals and other appropriate gifts for teens, whether it's books or pens or, things that are sort of writing related. We're always grateful for donations of things in that vein.
And it's my understanding that participation in WriteGirl is free, right? No charge?
Yes, absolutely. All of the programs of WriteGirl are offered at no charge to teens.
Okay. And I also understand the boys aren't completely left out, right? There's also there's also a parallel opportunity for boys to participate, right?
It's a limited thing, really. I mean, we're so committed to really helping girls and gender-expansive youth, but we do sometimes run co-ed or boys programs, especially when we're requested by a school or community center, or we're right now doing some programming for teens who are incarcerated here at the Juvenile Central Hall in downtown LA. And sometimes the workshops are for the girls and sometimes for the boys unit. So we recognize that boys need confidence, communication skills, creativity skills as well. And we're happy to do some programming for them when we can. We go under the name Bold Ink Writers because we don't want the boys feeling like they're, under the umbrella of WriteGirl. So we have a separate, a separate name for those programs. But we're really doing the boys and co-ed programs on a little bit more of a limited basis to really keep our focus on really helping lift up teen girls and gender-expansive youth at this moment.
Yeah, and that's the WriteGirl is open to girls and non-binary teens ages 13 to 18, right?
Yes, and trans youth as well.
Okay. And when we all experienced the COVID experience, how did that affect your work?
Oh,
it kind of
right.
It affected everybody.
Wasn't
how
it?
did that hit you guys?
Oh, it's still affecting us. I mean, it was a shock to the system in so many ways. And, imagine if you could go back to your own teen years and have all of your social life ripped away from you at the time when you need it the most, when your friends are everything, when your emotions, you don't have a place to put them except to share them with a friend, when you have thoughts and ideas and giggles and crying sessions and, all of that. And, to not have, not to be able to do our programs in person was really crushing. But what we did do, which I'm just so thrilled that we were able to really come together as a team, volunteers and staff, and just pivot right away to utilizing the wonderful technology tools that we do have and that we could still use, Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams.
Yeah.
Use them all and just said, we're going to figure out how to still connect with our teens, give them a space and a place that feels positive, inspiring, uplifting. And we started having staff meetings twice a day. In pandemic, we continued them for 2.5 years and only recently kind of dropped down to once a day. But it's those meetings twice a day on Zoom that allowed our staff and volunteers to really create captivating, positive, supportive, engaging environments, even on Zoom. We almost became broadcast producers because we have a script behind the scenes that does a play-by-play of who's saying what every minute, what activities happening, bringing in video elements, music, lava lamps online, and all kinds of interesting visuals and breakout groups. We kind of used everything that technology had available to us to make it fun and interesting. And, teens are walking with their feet, like they're making the decision to come to this. They're not getting credit for it or being graded for it or being paid to be here. So we recognize how challenging it is to say to a teen, come to this online thing and you're actually going to have fun. So, I mean, how many webinars have we all been to that we were like, I wish I could have that hour and a half back of my life, that was just boring and just a talking head, right? So I'm proud of what we've been able to create that has allowed teens to still have a feeling of what it is to be part of WriteGirl and have fun and connect with others and feel inspired and share their writing. We have a soapbox segment where teens can say anything they want for 30 seconds. It's a chance to rant or rave about anything. And we do it online. We've done it in person. And it's just such a powerful segment of our workshops where teens really get a chance to get something off their chest, good, bad, or otherwise. Sometimes it's about mustard. Sometimes it's about their science teacher. Sometimes it's a tribute to their mom or a moment where they just needed to let something out. And, that has been just such a joy to see that same energy conveyed even through pandemic, even through these electronic boxes. And, we know now that we need to continue some of this because, we're not going back. We're going to keep going forward, Well,
you pushed through such a trying time. And I'm a big believer in when you're surrounded by gray clouds, I'm a big believer in just identifying the one or two small rays of light that might exist. And in that COVID experience, maybe learning to work virtually and have a broader reach is maybe a positive that came from it, even though so many parts of it were so negative. But it's neat to see how you guys overcame that.
Yes.
Our time.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say you're right about that. We're so glad to be able to have this available now to teens who otherwise wouldn't be able to come, that it's too far to drive or they couldn't get transportation or they live too far away. So it's thrilling. That is the silver lining of the pandemic for us, that we've been able to reach more teens than ever before. And that's just wonderful.
We're kind of coming toward the end of our time together here today. It's all been very interesting. But is there anything else you'd like to add? Any one particular thing that maybe we didn't share that you'd like to touch on?
Well, I would just say to anyone listening, what could you do to help a teen girl in your life? And take a moment, offer some positive support and really listen to the voices of young women and gender expansive young people. Their voices are important and we have a lot to learn from them. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, and that kind of leads to my last question. It's my traditional last question with for all these interviews that I do. But I want to ask you, Keren Taylor, what does WriteGirl do for you personally, like within your heart? Having started the organization and everything it does, give our listeners an idea of what it does for you personally.
Well, we just had an event this past weekend and 2 of our teen participants stood and spoke, read their poetry and spoke about what it meant for them to be part of a community like this. And, whenever I hear our alums or our current teens speak about what they've gotten out of WriteGirl, what they've gotten out of having a mentor, what confidence they have now developed from this opportunity. Honestly, that is just the greatest gift of all. I can sleep well and feel just, greatly rewarded from all the work that we do to see how it impacts the lives of these young women. And, Amanda Gorman is only one of thousands of our alums, and she means a great deal to us because she sort of represents a lot of our alums. But beyond Amanda, there are thousands more that have gained their voice, their confidence, and are out there doing amazing work in the world because of their how they've developed their own selves. And that just is thrilling for me. My heart is full.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And there's a reason why I asked that question, because I like to tell our audience, they too can experience that same kind of feeling that you're getting from this. They can participate. They can give generously, donations, their time as volunteers, things like that. And that's really what Touch a Life Foundation is all about. That's what we're about here on TALRadio. As I mentioned, we're an information and entertainment arm of Touch a Life. While we broadcast entertainment programs, Touch a Life is all about connecting people that are generous with organizations that can use your help. So again, I encourage our listeners, go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, download the app for your iPhone or your Android phone, TAL Giving, TAL Giving, and register. Register as a donor, register as someone that might be able to benefit, and we can help your cause. But we've been talking with Keren Taylor, the founder and executive director of WriteGirl. And again, WriteGirl is the Los Angeles-based creative writing and mentoring organization. And your story has been very inspirational. Keren, I want to thank you for coming on TALRadio and telling us your story today. I hope we can help you out.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the time, and thank you for all the great work you're doing to spotlight all the programs that are doing good work in the world.
Thank you. Again, we thank Keren Taylor, founder and executive director of WriteGirl, for meeting with us today to share their story. I'm Robert Hicks, and I certainly want to thank you, our listeners, for spending time with us today, and most of all, for your generous nature in following us and supporting our objectives. Please stay with us here on TALRadio for additional uplifting stories.